I'm joined on the Crispin Flintoff show by Professor John Mullen. How you doing, John?
Very well.
Well, look, thank you for coming on. The story that's come out this week is about Marine Le Pen, who some people were saying is the favourite to win the presidential election. And this is the story that's as presented by the BBC. Le Pen to appeal ban from running for public office, condemning political decision. This is what she says in an interview on French TV.
Do you realise that on this fateful day, Monday the 31st of March 2025, such a critical day, what this represents for our democracy and for our country, when millions of French people will be denied by a court judge without any possible recourse, the candidate who was until today the favourite to win the presidential elections? Surely that must shock and horrify all those who respect democracy and the rule of law.
So, I mean, apparently she's not going to run in the presidential election because of this ruling against her. She's found guilty of. Can you explain what that's all about, and also what she said in her interview there? What's your take?
Yeah. I mean, the trial has been going on for 2 months. She was accused of embezzling around 4 million euros over 11 years, and found guilty along with 23 other members of the party. And the judge said that she was obviously at the centre of a highly organised system for funneling public funds into party coffers. So she's been sentenced to 4 years imprisonment, half of it suspended, and the other half would be served under electronic tagging. And of course, she's appealed. And so the prison sentence doesn't apply immediately. However, the other part of the punishment, that is that you're not allowed to run for public office for 5 years, is applying immediately. Now, the pollsters were out this weekend, and they're asking people, "Are you shocked by this by this verdict?" Now, that's a very biased question anyway. But in fact, 61% of the people polled said no, and 34% said yes. So Marine Le Pen, of course, is lying in her interview, but that's what she does. It's a fact she lies. That's normal. So yeah. Now, interestingly enough, during the trial, she didn't really reply. They had all this overwhelming proof of guilt, and she didn't really put up a defense. So she obviously her I think it's because she didn't have one, and obviously her tactic was to go for protest afterwards. And so this, in the last few days, they've been saying conspiracy of red judges, the tyranny of red judges. This was the slogan, which is a change in tactic for Le Pen's party, because they've been being ultra respectable these last couple of years. Propping up the right-wing government, heading up, making a lot of noise about going after Israel to fight anti-Semitism. Yeah, whatever we think about that. I mean, whatever we think about Netanyahu and his henchmen. And so, but this week, then you've got this change in the national rally tactics, and they've been going for, there's a tyranny of red judges against us. And they've also decided to call a rally on Sunday in Paris and another one in Marseille. This is a tactic they've avoided for many years. They didn't want street demonstrations because the open Nazis would be too visible, and so they've changed their tactic there at the moment.
I'm not sure about this ruling. Is it political? I mean, I can't see. So she wasn't taking money for herself. She was taking money from the EU to be used for her party. Is that what the ruling was about?
Now, the judge explained the ruling in 152 pages, which I have not read, but I understand that the essential crime was pretending that members of her family and her father's butler, were working for the EU. So they paid. So her father's butler was paid by the EU. Now, of course, the Le Pen says none of this money was for personal gain. We'll never know. We'll never know whether it was or it wasn't. But the most important thing is that Le Pen and the National Rally have always said, we live in a very corrupt society. Politicians are corrupt, but we can hold our heads high with clean hands. That was their slogan, main propre tête haute. And so really this result just shows the very deep hypocrisy of the fascist organization. And I think there will be a whole section of the soft support of Marine Le Pen who will be, rather put off her for this reason, that she will turn out to be just like the rest, which has already been a danger because she's propping up the present right-wing government, a right-wing government led by the party which lost the elections. So it's not really a new situation.
I'm interested in, are there precedents of, before? I mean, have we had other politicians that have been found guilty of this same kind of crime of embezzlement?
Yeah.
Is she the only one, and therefore they've got a case to say they're only picking on her?
No, I think so. I think there's first of all, there are several right-wing figures who have been sentenced to prison, usually suspended sentences. François Fillon, famously, who was the right-wing presidential candidate in 2017, gave lots of money to his wife, public money to his wife, saying that she was his assistant. Unfortunately, she had appeared on British television saying, "Oh, I've never been his assistant. I know nothing about that." And so he was convicted. Nicolas Sarkozy was convicted for another kind of corruption. So there is quite a tradition here. Now, I think the reason that what is a little bit needs a little more explanation is the fact that although the prison sentence does not apply immediately, because you have to wait for the appeal, the ban on standing for office applies immediately. And that was the decision of the judge. And I think one of the reasons is that there was no, that Marine Le Pen and the others did not say, "Oh, we were wrong to do this," or "We're sorry, we won't do it again." And so the judge considered that they were perfectly capable of going right on embezzling funds, and that seemed to be an important figure. Now, there's a section of the left in France who also think that it's not a good thing that the ban on standing for office apply immediately. This, in particular, the leadership of the France Insoumise thinks that. They think that it's a general principle. We're not in favour of bans on standing for office applying before appeals come through. And I think they thinking in particular of all the ways that the courts have been used in South America against left-wing leaders, and so they're very distrustful of that kind of decision by judges. Although I do think that question on the left, the debate of whether it's good or not good that it should be applied immediately, is a secondary question, which has been put forward on the media to show how divided the left is, because that's what the media like to do. Otherwise, the media is full of Le Pen's MPs saying, "She is being so dignified in the face of such terrible pressure, the poor lady," etc.
Right, I see. So the left is actually saying that it's not a good idea that she shouldn't stand, but they are not they think the verdict is correct, and the corruption and the embezzlement, they think that should be held. Should be held to account for that, but they're not sure that they shouldn't stop her standing until the appeal has been gone through.
Yes, that is the whole of the left. Almost the whole of the left thinks that she was embezzling and she deserves punishing, but probably half the left thinks that it's not a great idea. It's a bad precedent for bans on standing in elections to be applied immediately.
So if she can't stand, is there a direct replacement for her that might pick up as many votes as her? Is she magic to that party, or is it just any old fascist works?
Oh, you're asking me to predict the future again. I knew you were going to do that. Let's say that the most likely candidate would be Jordan Bardella, who's a 30-year-old man, and he would have disadvantages. But he would have from a point of view of the fascists and their electoral plans, he would have two advantages. One is a man, that always helps in elections, and especially in France. And secondly, because he doesn't have the Le Pen name, and although he lives with one of Marine Le Pen's sisters, I think he's not considered. His image is not as a Le Pen, and that will give him more flexibility to fine-tune his electoral image. Because of course, these are fascist organizations, so they don't have principles. They're very, very frequently opportunists. Will happily support the opposite of what they supported last year. And so the image becomes very important for that. So that would certainly be a case. Now, whether that would contradict the power of Marine Le Pen is difficult to say. The other thing which could happen is that there are a couple of other possible fascist candidates, Marine Le Pen's niece and Eric Zemmour, who's even an old far-right guy. And there might be, with a bit of luck, there would be a fight between them for who would be candidate, which can always be a good thing. But really, we've got to have an anti-fascist movement. And so it's good that the counter-rally on Sunday, the France Insoumise and the Greens have called for it. Unfortunately, the Socialist Party have said they're not going to the counter-rally, which is somewhere else in Paris. It's not a direct confrontation. Now, the Socialist parties say that they're not going because they don't want to politicize the question. I think it's really because they don't want to be side by side with the France Insoumise right now. The Communist Party has not yet said if they're coming or not, but I'm not expecting them to come. But I might be wrong. Let's be optimistic and say I'm wrong.